Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Violent Game Show. This is going to be the second one. I'm looking forward to this one because I've been playing a lot of good games. That is really the reason why I'm hyped for this. I just want to talk at a microphone. Look, this isn't about the viewership. This is about me venting my feelings to my blue snowball microphone because I'm having a great time with games. And I think the first game I need to talk about is Edith Finch. If I could speak. By the way, these are always off the hip. You're not going to get like next to any editing because I just don't have the time to be perfectly honest, and I'm okay with that. So first game that I want to talk about today is Edith Finch. Now this game surprised me. I was playing this game literally for the shits and giggles of actually recording the show and being able to give you my impressions on it. This game came out for free on PSN. I would have never have picked this game up otherwise. And I'm so glad they released it on PSN, guys, for free because this game is awesome. I've played literally only about 30 minutes of it. Basically everything I've recorded and am going to show in the actual gameplay footage you're going to be seeing from the jump is going to be of Edith Finch. And this game is just a walking simulator with a really solid narrative, a mysterious plot line where you're trying to uncover what you're doing there in the first place and what you're trying to do. And you get to explore this incredible house that just has so much story inside of it, both environmental storytelling and narrative storytelling in this game are so exceptional that this game is easily a must play, and it has certain segments that just feel so innovative. Like, as soon as I got into the first room of the Finch house, I learned about a little girl, and the scene that transpires from learning about this character is absolutely incredible. You go from doing weird things like consuming toothpaste and eating from a gerbil cage to turning into a cat and leaping out of a window, and everything just goes crazier and crazier from there, and it escalates so quickly. It's awesome. Like, literally, it is an emotional roller coaster, and it's only been 30 minutes. Like, I'm so pumped. I really, really enjoy Edith Finch, and I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm starting to appreciate different game genres, including things like walking simulators. Like, if you would have came to me 5 years ago or something like that and brought a walking simulator to me, I probably would have gotten bored. But I think as I've gotten older, I've kind of, I don't know, my tastes have changed. That's going to be the topic for today. We're going to talk about how my gaming tastes have changed. So wait for that segment. But Edith Finch, guys, if you have a PlayStation Plus right now, you need to download this game. There's no reason not to. It's very well done. The voice acting is outstanding. The environments and just looking at everything is literally awesome. If you're a fan of that environmental storytelling, piecing things together and learning about the different Finch family members without anything even being said to you, you kind of learn what their hobbies were, what they were interested in, how they lived their lives, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I'm already having feelings for this game, barely even scratched the surface. Like, it is a really, really good walking simulator, and I never thought I would say that in my life. So, yeah, definitely different than what I'm used to. Great game already. I hope I'll keep playing it, and I'll give you guys updates episode from episode, and that's how we'll play it out. Now, the next game I played, I picked up on my Switch on a sale. I've been keeping my eye on this one. It's an indie game. I love playing indie games on my Switch, and this one has caught my eye since I saw it on PlayStation 4's storefront, and that is Pinstripe. Pinstripe is just a little puzzle platformer. It's very simple in its design. None of the puzzles are really outstandingly complicated, but they are satisfying to go through. The real charm of Pinstripe, though, is definitely within the story that, unfolds before you. It's not as deep or emotional as, say, Edith Finch, but it's delightful. Everything about this game feels delightful. The characters you meet are so just charming, and it's a very cartoony, lighthearted world. And I'm down for that. I feel like this is a great game that, especially when I'm taking a break during, my work week, I like to pull this one out and just, complete a couple puzzles, let my mind relax, not really have to worry about doing gratuitously hard combat. I feel like this is a great Switch pickup. Now, if you are playing on a main home console, maybe this indie game's not going to be appealing to you, and I understand that. I honestly feel that indie games translate better when they're in a handheld. That's just how it is, and that's one of the main reasons the Switch has been one of my favorite consoles. It's giving me a newfound appreciation for these independent games, and Pinstripe is just one of the many exceptional examples. Speaking of another example that blows Pinstripe out of the water, let's talk about Hollow Knight. I actually beat this game a couple weeks ago, but I forgot to bring it up. But I think it's really relevant to bring up this game in today's discussion because Hollow Knight is probably one of the best indie games I've ever played and would be my all-time favorite if it wasn't for Night in the Woods hitting so close to home in terms of its narrative. I really like Night in the Woods. I love Mae Borowski. I will never forget the experience I had with that game. I'm emotionally attached. But Hollow Knight is like a 2D Metroidvania Dark Souls game where it has that subtle lore telling. It has, great boss fights that are just so memorable and fun. And, it has the lore again if you want to find it, and you kind of have to dig in deep with this game. And on average, I'd say you're going to get 40 plus hours out of this game. And it's just so well designed. The combat system not even being complicated. You basically have a one type of melee attack in the game that is something you're going to be using in all combat situations. Now, you also unlock different spells and different types of movement throughout the game that add not only to the combat of the game, but the actual platforming and traversal of those environments. I just found that it's just very compelling. Everything about Hollow Knight is extremely compelling. It has a really compelling narrative. It has a really compelling level design. Though I will criticize the gratuitous amounts of blue. I feel like too many of the environments are blue. But outside of that, Hollow Knight is probably my favorite indie game in terms of value for sure. It's absolutely outstanding. On average, you're probably going to pay $10 to $15 for this game, less than that if it's on sale, and you get 40 plus hours of amazing stellar content by a studio who clearly cares about what they're doing. I even heard about the design of this game and how it was kind of made, and it was made from the ground up, meaning that they made the levels and the world beforehand and then filled it with enemies and story, and then they added all of these things together, and it fits so well, and it really sticks with you in a way. And not for the same reasons Edith Finch feels, but because it's just such an exceptionally made game in every aspect. Gameplay, platforming. This game pushed me as a gamer when it came to platforming. I'm really bad at platforming in video games. I wish I was better. And Hollow Knight pushed me to my limits. Like, there were moments where I was screaming at this game for how fucking hard the platforming was, and it's setting you back, and you having to collect all your geo and things like that. But all in all, guys, outstanding game. I was not able to play anything on my Switch for like a couple of weeks after playing it because no other game even compared. It was just really, really high quality. I would dare say it is the best game I've played on my Switch so far. I'm trying to think of another game. Maybe Bayonetta 2 rivals that in a big way for me. Those are probably my favorite games I've played on Switch thus far. Both of them being ports, by the way. Just to point that out, that the Switch isn't just special because of its exclusives. It's also a great medium. Just having it in your hands makes games like Hollow Knight just pop out so much more. But if you don't have a Switch, Hollow Knight is available on basically every platform, so there's no reason not to play it, and I highly recommend this one, especially if you're a fan of Dark Souls and you can get over the whole 2D indie style of the game. You're going to fall in love with this game, and it took a while for me to get into it. I'll be honest, when I first played Hollow Knight, it was way back in the day, and I put it down because I didn't find the gameplay mechanics that compelling, but then I decided to jump back into it because, I'm just going through my backlog. I was in between releases, and I was blown away. Like, literally, after playing Dark Souls, I played that game, and I was still impressed. So, if that says anything, well, I said a lot of things. I'm sure something was said for you. I hope you learned something from that. Okay, next up is another game that I played a while back but didn't mention. Tom Clancy's The Division 2. You guys, what I will say about The Division 2, just to keep it simple, I think the core gameplay mechanics are actually really good. I think the aiming, the way everything feels, even if you turn off aim assist, it seems to, run pretty well. At 30 frames per second, mind you. The cover system in particular definitely feels a little bit different than other games, but at the same time, I can't really say that it's so unique because it kind of mimics the Gears of War system, which that was in the 360 era. But the reason the Division 2 falls flat is because its narrative fails to compel you ever. You don't feel anything for the narrative. You feel like you're just being asked to do the same thing over and over again because innately that's what you're doing. You just shoot generic waves of enemies. There isn't a large variety of them, and it's just like, okay, we got light dudes, generals, and then heavy dudes, and the AI acts a certain way, and it's not anything different than any other third-person shooter you've ever played. But the gameplay itself is sort of solid. The controls feel tight. I mean, when it comes to a games as a service, if you're into that model, which I think most players aren't at this point, or except for a few, addicts. Like, I can't refer to them any other way. But to be honest, like, and I say this with love because my brother is definitely one of these people who gets addicted to this kind of shit. But if you're not addicted, or if you are an addict of this, you're probably going to like the Division 2 because honestly, when it comes to the games as a service right now, Anthem isn't giving you shit. Fallout 76 isn't giving you shit. Actually, it gives you shit in abundance. Everything is shit about Fallout 76. But yeah, the Division 2 is offering the best product right now. I have to say that. And with that being said, I don't even like the game. I really don't. Oh shit, sorry. Something's going to sleep. Can't be going to sleep. Look, I'm recording the audio on the Elgato, and if my PlayStation goes to sleep, everything will shut down. That's what I'm fumbling with right now. So yeah, that's really my opinion on the Division 2. I just think it's so repetitive, and I was having fun. I really was, but I wanted to wait because of this issue. I thought, let's see what the game offers long term, and I'm glad I did that. I played it for about 4 hours, and I was like, it's all the same shit. I'm bored. Moving on. It's just that you can't be an okay game anymore. I don't think you can. I think we live in an era right now where there are so many games available to us that anything less than good or great, or in my opinion, it's great to exceptional. Like, granted, these words they probably evoke different emotions in different people, but you get what I'm saying. I feel like if your game isn't notably above average, you shouldn't spend your time on it because there's so many games for so many different price points right now in 2019 that there's just no excuse to play a bad one or a mediocre one. So Division 2, you're getting sacked. Now, I've also been playing a lot of Rainbow Six. This has been my main game for like the past several months. It's the only multiplayer game that I really want to engage with right now. I'm going to try to maybe engage in another one for next episode, but I really like Rainbow Six. Instead of talking about like everything I love about the game like I did last time, I just want to talk about what I've been doing in the game. So in Rainbow Six, I've been mostly playing Dokaibi and Hibana on attack, and I'm very comfortable with those two ops. When someone doesn't bring a thermal breacher to the team, I'm very happy to bring Hibana, though if I have the option, I would always play Dokaibi. She's definitely my best fragger, and I feel like the reason for that, and when I say fragger, I mean basically person I kill people with. For the layman, I've been watching too many Hot Breach podcasts. They do a fine job. I like those gentlemen, but when it comes to my attackers, Dokaibi's definitely the best. She has a push-button global ability that is a nightmare for anyone even in the remote vicinity. And it just gives this really annoying buzz. It doesn't just benefit you, but it benefits any of your teammates who might be closing in on one of their targets. And I love it for that. Even when I'm, going in solo queue casual, I still make great use of this ability. I also love her passive, which is the ability to hack into enemies' security systems. This is very effective because it allows me to turn a very pertinent part of the enemy's defense, which is their information, against them. I can either use it against them or cause them to turn against their own systems. So either way, I'm disrupting their team. I'm causing them to look twice at something else that they may have even set up to benefit them. So I think Dokaibi is just really, really strong in that aspect. But people aren't a fan of her guns, but I am. So it's a very, very good fit for me. So those are the attackers I play with, but right now in RB6, I will be honest, I'm struggling on defense. I'm failing to find that magic operator that just makes me so happy. I've had some success with characters like Doc and Rook. I really like the use of ACOGs in the game. It really does seem that if you put an ACOG on anything, it becomes a really good weapon. But I'm having trouble finding an operator that has both the guns and the utility. I find that I always pick utility heavy operators most of the time. I'll pick them for that utility. So I'm kind of leaning towards Echo right now because those two yokai drones are just so lethal. The fact that they're invisible cameras that you can fly around the map and put them on the ceilings and walls is just really, really intricate. And I love the team play that can also work with this. Like, I can take one of my drones and be like, hey, buddy, I'm with you. I'm going to keep an eye on this room for you. If someone jumps in, I'm going to stun them and you just gun them down. And having your teammates, use your drones more than you is actually a more effective way to use Echo, I find. But using his primary weapons at long distances is painful. And that's why I kind of find myself wanting to switch off him a lot, because while he provides that utility, even when he dies, those cameras stay up, by the way. He's pants at long range, as my British homies would say. He's just not good at all at a distance. And I, for whatever reason, like to stay away from the fight. I don't know why. Ever since I was young, even when I played the old Call of Duties, I always gravitated towards marksman rifles or snipers, because there's just something about standing at a distance and using a semi-automatic that I just really, really enjoy as a gamer. I don't know why. The battle rifles have always been my preferred playstyle. I don't like automatics that much, to be perfectly honest. But, Siege, they're kind of better. So there's my RB6 rant. If anyone has any advice for defense, let me know. I might try Valkyrie. I've been trying out some Frost. I find Frost's gun to actually be very easy to use as well. And her utility sometimes comes in handy in hilarious ways. So, I don't know. Siege, I'm always learning. That's the appeal of the game. That's why you're probably going to hear me talk about it on a weekly basis. I hope that doesn't annoy you. I'll try to keep it shorter with Siege, is what I'll try to do. I'll just explain what's going on with me in the game, if I'm, doing better with my defense, how I'm improving, things like that. I just think it's a fun experience to engage with as a gamer. So let's talk about some news, because I don't really have that much for you, because I couldn't get around to it. A lot of things were happening. I was helping out my family with a move, life stuff. And life stuff, it tends to happen. But what I've been keeping up with is like Borderlands 3 news, because I'm chomping at the bit. I want that Borderlands 3. I want it so bad. You guys don't understand how bad I want that Borderlands 3. I have so many fond memories of the past two games. It really got me into socializing as a gamer. I was a very awkward kid in this game, kind of pushed me into talking to people for the first time. So I really, really enjoy Borderlands. So apparently the game is doing well. I've watched a few impressions videos on it, one of them by Mr. Matty Plays, and I can't remember the second one. Oh, it was on Angry Joe's channel. That's the one I watched. And the general consensus is everyone seems to like this game, that the guns feel really good, the audio design has been improved upon, and one thing that I keep hearing that I love is apparently the base gunplay is objectively better in this game, which is not something I expected Gearbox to pull off. But apparently they've refined their gun system to where people are comparing it to Call of Duty, which, I fucking hate Call of Duty, by the way. But Call of Duty's gunplay mechanics aren't bad. I'm going to turn off the aim assist, so this is actually really good news for me, because I know I'm going to have an aim model that I can turn off the aim assist and still have a pretty decent time. Plus, it's going to make the game a little more challenging to have the aim assist off, so I'm definitely going to go for that when the game comes out. But I'm really happy to hear these things. A lot of people are even saying the dialogue's expansive and stuff, and that your characters, like in the pre-sequel, have a lot to say about the story that's going on in front of them. And I find that that is going to dramatically increase the replay incentive. It's going to make the game just wonderful for me. I really hope the classes are fun. I haven't even looked into that yet. I probably should, but a part of me doesn't want to spoil myself. A part of me wants to wait for the game to come out so that I can look at these classes myself and try to, formulate my own thoughts. Because that sense of discovery, I feel like, is kind of lost on the modern world. I feel like everything is kind of pre-spoiled before it even comes out because of the expansive coverage that YouTube allows for gaming. So, yeah. I'm really liking to hear that the game is coming along smoothly. Now, in contrast to that, Randy Pitchford is not going along so smoothly. He's apparently being accused of assault by one of his former employees that voiced Claptrap. I mean, I fucking thought Claptrap was annoying, but I wouldn't fucking hit him, especially if he was my employee. Like, Jesus, man, that's fucking... And here's the thing. I don't know if it's true or if these are just false allegations. I want to make that very clear, that Violent Games is open to nuance. But Randy Pitchford is such a fucking weaselly piece of shit that I automatically believe the voice actor of Claptrap, and that is saying something about Randy Pitchford. It really is. The fact that this guy has to represent a bunch of really good developers kind of makes me a little upset, and I wish they would do something about him. I don't like him. No one else does. And every time he opens his mouth, he says something stupid because he has a fragile ego. That's really all I have to say on the matter. It sucks that he's behind Borderlands of all fucking games. Something that I hold near and dear to my heart and has microtransactions in it. Apparently, Borderlands 2 had microtransactions in it. I just didn't know for some reason. When it came to not DLC, like cosmetics, I didn't actually know. I don't know why. I think it's because I played the complete edition on PlayStation 4 Pro, and I guess it had those in them already, and I never noticed the paid microtransactions, probably because I didn't buy them. That's probably what it came down to. But I made that mistake in the first episode. I just want to clear that up here. Okay, so let's move on to the topic. Finally, the topic. I think this episode's going to be a bit shorter, it looks like, which is kind of sad. I would like to fill more time in the show, but why have any filler when you can just make all killer? 20 minutes is fine. So I want to talk about how my tastes have changed as a gamer. Because back in the day, I used to like a bunch of things that were basically action-based, I would say, or had like really, pervasive gameplay. And as I've started to evolve as a gamer, I've really kind of noticed that I've appreciated video games more as an art form, predominantly. When I was young, I didn't really understand how games were an art form. They were more of an escape for me. And I enjoyed games based on their mechanics, or maybe it had a fun story with interesting characters. That was the baseline that would cause me to enjoy a game. And as I got older, I started stepping into different genres, like, instead of adventure games like fucking Spyro and shit, I would step into things like the Silent Hill franchise, or the Resident Evil franchise was the first horror game I ever played. And I fell in love with that, and I saw that video games can make me feel not only just a sense of enjoyment, but a sense of fear. They can make me feel anxious about certain things, and they can allow me to overcome certain challenges that I never really thought of before. And then I saw, of course, as I gotten older and I understand more mature subject material, I would play games like Portal, and just seeing how amazing the story of that game was. And I would still be annoyed what am I trying to say? I would find things like puzzle games annoying when I was younger, especially. Like, I hated doing puzzle games. I hated solving puzzles. It really annoyed me. But one thing I'm actually noticing, and this is what's happening in my 20s, like, that's how late this gets. I really like puzzle platformers now, and I'm actually getting into a walking simulator. So I really do feel that as you mature as a gamer, you really should explore the types of games that you're playing. When you're older, you can really appreciate video games as an art form. Like, I love Edith Finch. I would have hated that game if I was younger. I would have been like, it's just a story about some people who I don't know. But now that I'm older, I'm like, look at this environmental detail and look how they're presenting this story in such a unique way with the text in front of you being placed over certain objects to draw focus on that environment, and then looking through that environment and having it tell you a story. Like a perfect example was when I entered the grandma's room. I don't want to spoil the characters' names for some reason. I don't know. I barely know them, to be honest with you. It's my first 30 minutes of the game, really. But I was looking through this grandma's room, and I was just looking about how she lived her life. I was looking in her bathroom, the certain style of everything, how it matched the time period she was in. It looked like a grandma's house. You saw that she tended to a lot of different animals, so it said something about her personality. And if you interacted with certain objects in the room, Edith would talk about, like, the character as she knew them growing up. And it's just... I love the way games grip me now. I love how games grip me now because games have gotten so much more complex and interesting. And growing up, I've, developed a profound appreciation for that. That's really the biggest fundamental change when it comes to how I've treated gaming. Now, things I seem to dislike now. I'm actually really falling out of love with JRPGs. And I started my video gaming on JRPGs. So this is a very weird thing for me. Like, I started playing the Pokemon games when I was younger. That's like probably my earliest gaming memories, really, was playing on the Super Nintendo from time to time, but I was never really good at the Mario games because I was young as fuck, and those early platformers got retardedly hard. But I find that JRPGs, I don't like them anymore for two reasons, really. One is the time they consume. I find the games have too much time and there are just too many other releases that I want to look at, before my life is over. And I find that JRPGs, when you're working a 9 to 5, are just hard to keep up with. And another thing that makes JRPGs kind of bad is the grinding. If a game has any amount of grinding in it in 2019, I get pissed off. Like, it's one of the reasons I didn't like The Division 2. I don't like grinding. I find grinding to be supplemental filler gameplay that doesn't have the same impact as you going through a new area for the first time or you experiencing a new challenge for the first time. Grinding is basically the repetition of something. That's why you call it a grind. And when you're an adult, you go to a 9 to 5, right? And you grind out, or maybe you're a young person, you go to school, you're grinding out. You don't want to do that in a video game, especially when we have so many options at so many different price ranges. I don't find JRPGs to be necessary. When I was younger, JRPGs were amazing because I could only get my hands on so many games, like, in a year, right? But now that I'm adult, I can buy my own games, and there are so many different games for cheap. That's no longer a problem. But like I said, when I was younger, having all of that content stretch out for like a long period of time was awesome because I would get one game and I would have all of these things to explore. There'd be a lot of different things. I would have to go through these challenges, but it occupied me. Now that is no longer needed. So that's really how I've changed as a gamer over time. If you have something to say about this topic, let me know in the comments section down below. That's a discussion that's probably worth having with some of you, is how have you changed as a gamer? I find that is really interesting. Like, are you more into certain genres now? Do you like horror now, or are you more against a certain genre because you don't like the way it's evolved? So there's a lot of things to be said about that. So engage me if you like. This is out for you. And yeah, I think I'm gonna end this episode here. My English is starting to break, so like I need to stop. This is Violent Games signing off. Enjoy some video games. There's like a shit ton. It's awesome. It really is.